My name is Naela de la Caridad Felipe Vila, and I will be going through some questions that are gonna be about the process of my magazine.
Okay, so let's start with our first question. How does your product use or challenge convention, and how does it represent social groups or issues?
So, my product was going to be designed out of convention. I really wanted something different, but through constructive critics, I learned that it would be far more effective if I didn't totally step out of it. I received comments and about the bold colors that I was trying to incorporate in my magazine, and to be honest, it was a little difficult for me to do all these ideas but not step out of convention, even though that it was my initial goal of how my magazine would look like. Throughout the process of building the product, I adapted to this format. I was advised, and yes, I still added my touch. But how did I do this now? Well, besides the advices, the images that I added in my spread were a piece of home, and the color and tones that I used were really it. My spread is about desserts, and I find that a lot of people would like to try baking, but also most don't, since they are afraid of it not coming out pretty or good. The recipes I added are recipes that I prepared with my mom, and the pictures of how it would look like um, is how it came out for us. And we didn't try to be overly pretty, though I do think the results were cute. I believe my magazine takes out the stigma of homemade recipes being extra cute and extra delicious, when it may not look incredible, but the taste might be heavenly, quite so.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. How does your product engage with audiences, and how would it be distributed as a real media text?
Well, since the start of my magazine, I communicated to possible consumers through surveys to take in their feedback and apply it to my product. I believe my magazine can be distributed both ways, the conventional print and the modern digital media. My magazine ended up looking clear and clean, um, being fit for a print model. It really is about perspective and how audiences feel about it. The distribution of my magazine could be any of the stated ways. However, on digital, I think my magazine will get more attention, or at least trend for a little bit, since most of my target audience is active online. I remember that I had said that my product is for all ages, but most of the feedback that I got inclined towards younger generations. But nonetheless, everyone has a place in these pages. A cuisine magazine will always be a hit. Food for me is life. I feel like there are thousands of people willing to take a look inside my magazine because let a girl dream, truly.
How did your product skills develop throughout this project?
Well, I'll have to admit that before I had to face all the challenges required for the project, I had no skills on the field of editing or even on the use of softwares or apps. Of course, I'm a little bit conscious of how it's like to take a standard picture, but this project gave me the opportunity to go a step forward in trying to find better angles, organize the space, that will appear in the frame and stuff, and even have a better critical view before I consider a photograph good enough. This was hard, as I said, because since I've never put that critic eye on perspective, I can defend myself through, but I wouldn't last a battle, to be honest. The experimental process was a method that helped me throughout the search of perfect templates, colors, and layouts for my vision that I had been developing. Let me be honest on one thing, really. Receiving feedback from my possible consumers has been a challenge and an advantage. Because while I'm trying to maintain my idea, I have to edit for a better acceptance rate overall.
Okay, so for our last question, how did you integrate technologies, software, hardware, and online in this project?
I was able to use a mix of technologies such as software or apps like Canva that was essential to look for and try out some templates, insert my pictures and the adjustments of these, basically for the editing and creation of the actual magazine. And hardware like my computer, phone, iPad, etc., were necessary for the production of the CCR video and even for the magazine, since hardware are one of the ones that let us use the programs. I made use of social media inspiration. I found niche articles that gave me off that vibe that I wanted for my magazine. The process of making the whole project came together was really, really interesting. I stepped out of my comfort zone truly. There was editing strategies that I had to learn, even though my knowledge about tech, as I said, has a limit. But it is really comforting to have learned all of this. All in all, this tech helped me build my vision step by step.